I've known Andy, he wrote this for me to say, I've known Andy since he joined Macmillan in 1990 when he was young, slim, dynamic and keen. And tonight, you're about to see that two of those things are still true, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andy Cowle!
Oh. I don't need the screen. Okay. Oh, yes. That was the longest 4.5 minutes I've ever seen. Was that, Caroline, was that 4.5 minutes? Okay, so I've started. And where can we get the record, Ken? Is it available in all good, well, no more bookstores or record stores? Okay, eBay. Well, you know, this whole thing about 4-minute warnings or 4.5-minute warnings makes me think a lot about the 80s. But before my main failure was as a language learner in the 80s. And the first fail is that my time has gone off in my pocket already. So now I have no idea what is 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes.
4 minutes.
With presentations very much on my mind, what I was going to talk about was a couple of fails where I simply couldn't find the room of my presentation. Not before the presentation necessarily, although that's happened when I was in Russia once, where I was in St. Petersburg, and I was so impressed with the architecture of the gorgeous buildings around there. I had about, I don't know, 15 minutes just to kind of get some fresh air, admire the buildings, and then kind of calm down a little bit before the talk. And I realized, oh, I better speed up and get it. And all the buildings, with respect to St. Petersburg, which is gorgeous, they all look the same, and I couldn't find the building again. And then to my huge relief, 5 minutes before the presentation, I found what I thought was the building, went in the labyrinthine corridors of said building, up the stairs, down the corridors, into the room, and found it was the wrong building. At which point I decide I'm now sweating heavily, thinking my presentation, according to my phone or watch, has now started. Anyway, 15 minutes later, I realized the guy before me, I found the room, was actually covering for me. And I couldn't get past the audience because there was a lot of teachers, hundreds of teachers, and I was almost at the stage when a teacher came up to me and said, Andy, it is my birthday. Have you got a gift for me? And I said, no, happy birthday, good luck, sorry, I'm going to present, no, she stood in my way. Anyway, I was going to tell you about that one, but I'm not going to tell you. Then there was a time during my presentation, in Estonia. I was doing a workshop on teaching with songs. And it's not difficult, except that I realized that my handouts were in the reception area, way above the top floor. So I left them all singing along to a karaoke track, went to get the handouts, and couldn't find the room. But I could hear the songs. And worst of all, I could hear them singing along, not just to the song that I gave them, but they had given up on me ever turning up and moved on to sing along very sweetly to the next track. And I'd like to say that I turned up and covered, but I never did get to find the room. Then they all mixed with the rest of the conference. Nobody ever said anything about it. The conference all finished without me, and I have no idea what happened. It's very possible that I was very good in the second half. So I won't talk about that one either. And thanks, by the way, Ken, for putting me on sort of first, just because my name was Andy. No, I thought also I'd think a little bit about being a language learner. We take risks. Here's the serious part. Not really. We take risks as language learners, and I learned German. It's still quite good, I like to think. Back in the 80s, I was a language learning assistant. I'm Fremdsprachenassistent. That's to tell you I can still pronounce it. What do you think, Herbert? Okay? Not bad. I can also say gummy bear, which is a sort of... Anyway, that's a different story for a different night out. But since it's being filmed, we'll keep it fairly mainstream. And I confused... I went in I was a young... dynamic, I told you, into the classroom of about 28 students and confused, well, rather lazily, didn't do the umlaut thing. So I confused the sound schwul and schwül. And if you don't speak German, that's a very important difference between humidity and being gay. So I announced in front of 28 9-year-olds that this seemed to be an awfully gay region. obviously very gay to make nice wine, and I feel so gay that I'm sweating.
One.